Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello and welcome to Game Over Calgary after the Flames take down the Metropolitan leading Carolina Hurricanes. And a good comment there from Taryn Boot. Boy, oh boy, the Flames look like they know how to score, but we only had to trade away, theoretically, the Flames' best scorer to do so. Once again, my name's Conrad Krausert. Thank you so much for tuning in to Game Over Calgary, your post-game show. It's keeping Canadian media independent and giving opportunities to young broadcasters countrywide. Oh boy. I was coming into this game expecting it to be a rough one, to be entirely honest, for this to be a conversation about how the Calgary Flames are going to struggle down the stretch. To talk about how my friend Mike Gould, when he was asked during the trade deadline show that he did over for Barn Burner, how many wins the Calgary Flames would get the rest of the way. And he said 7. And hey, that's one of 7 there. And it's against a prime opponent in the Carolina Hurricanes. And hey, the Hurricanes gave us, in my opinion, their better of their 2 goaltenders. And the Calgary Flames score their 4 goals, move to 51 straight when scoring 4 or more. But of course, that's kind of burying the lead a little bit as the Flames play their first game after the trade deadline, where they offload a couple of guys. Of course, a guy they traded before the deadline in Mackenzie Weegar, and then, of course, trading away Nazem Kadri. And you know what? The Flames looked cohesive enough in the forward group. And we're going to have to talk a little bit about the defensive struggles for this game, because the Flames played a majority of the second 2 periods down a man after White Cloud goes down with a apparent upper body injury. But hey, a good introduction for 2 of the Flames' new acquisitions, that in Ryan Strome and Olli Mata, playing in their first games as Flames, picking up their first points as Flames today. Obviously, we have yet to see the only other player who is on an NHL deal, that being Victor Olofsson. Didn't arrive in time for morning skate, so you have to think he'll probably stir into the mix as we continue to move along. Before we get to the recap, we'll talk about Taryn Boot's comment here. You know, if you add a, of course the A being the A on his sweater, he turns his name into Gaudreau. And boy, that's definitely going to be a topic we're going to talk about a little bit later on in today's show. But of course, give you the show rundown. In period 1, we'll go through the scoring summary, talk about all of the goals. Period 2, we are going to talk about the former Flyers duo. And in period number 3, we're going to talk about the defense and if White Cloud's injury is a medium-term injury, what this means, because we obviously as well did not see Joel Hanley in this game. That one was due to illness, not injury. Apologies, I had to move my microphone a little bit. But before we go into our first period, that of course being the recap, go hit that like, go hit that subscribe. It really helps in a world, especially when YouTube has redone their algorithm to really, really encourage those with higher likes and higher subscriber counts to push it out to get some more of our friends involved. Now I got 7 people out there in the YouTube universe watching. So hey, hit the buttons. Let's get some more friends in here. Of course, let's start it off with Mata making a little bit of a mistake. He gets put in the spin cycle a little bit. And then White Cloud just kind of gets caught puck watching. And the Flames get scored on. Seth Jarvis, first shot of the game. I thought we got rid of that problem when we traded away Jacob Markstrom, but it's proving to become more and more of a thing again with Dustin Wolf. Jarvis, 27th of the year, assists to Svechnikov and Aho. How nice is it going to be when the Flames finally get a 20-goal scorer once again? Because I think the only guy that's really on pace for that is Blake Coleman and maybe Joel Farabee now. But a little bit tough to be a good hockey team when that's the 20-goal mark is the highest that you're talking about on your team. But regardless, Seth Jarvis, he had all of his friends drive in from Winnipeg to cheer him on in this one. In the end, it's just the Flames flying the zone a little bit too quickly. I don't necessarily know how much I like having Backlund with 2 goal scorers, because while Michael Backlund is a great center and is the captain of this squad, I don't necessarily think of him as a playmaker. I think of him as a truly defensive forward, especially at his age. So having 2 guys that are just trying to find somebody to give them the puck to shoot it, I don't necessarily love having Backlund there. And Bax doesn't get back on the back check. Flames down 1-0. That will be how the Flames exited the first period. And I was a little bit worried about the Flames at this point. Because if anyone knows, I've talked about how after these ceremonial ceremonies, I guess is how I'm going to say it, because I can't remember how to speak English, the Flames generally get off to hot starts. That was not the case today. Did not look overly great in the first period. And that is by design. It's a Rod the Bod coach team, so it's a high-pressure team. And also, it's a team that played last night. So how do you take advantage of that when you are the team playing the back-to-back? You need to score early. You need to score often. They get the early part, not necessarily the often part, until the third period. But through 20, that was where we stood. The Carolina Hurricanes, the Canes, 9 shots, Flames 6. And then it kind of was the Flames' second period. It looked like the Flames reminded themselves that, hey, we're playing at home. We're playing on a day of rest. The Canes, they're a tired squad. They played a real good game against the Oilers last night. So let's take advantage of that. And Ryan Strome, who I was a little bit critical of, only scored 3 goals for the Ducks this year. He is the recipient of a lot of great work by himself, Martin Pospisil. And hey, Strome gets his 4th of the year assist to Olli Maatta. Had the pass, really great pass actually, coming down from just above the circles. Finds Strome. Strome finds the back of the net. His 4th of the year, first as a Flame, only 19 seconds in to period number 2. And hey, Marty Party gets on the score sheet, his first assist of the year. So, hey, pretty good from this energy line. Even though I think Michael Backlund needs to go on that line, and Ryan Strome maybe needs to be the second line center between the 2 snipers that we mentioned before. But again, I'm not the coach of the Calgary Flames. And then it became the former Flyers and Blake Coleman show. Great work in the offensive zone, which is something we haven't seen a lot from the Calgary Flames. The Calgary Flames are a team that loves to not win the board battle, it seems, this year. And that seemed to not happen in this goal, certainly. Won the board battles against the tired Canes. Assists to the 3 forward, or to Frost and Coleman. But Joel Farabee picks up his first of the night. Really nice to see Blake Coleman not give up on that pass that initially got intercepted. But a nice little tip play there from Frost in front of the net, and Joel Farabee just wires that one home over Brendan Bussey. I know it's Bussey. It's funnier to me because I'm a child. 2-1 Flames. And then the Flames, again, score a power play goal. And it's right off the face-off. A face-off play. Goes back to Zane Parekh. Parekh walks the line, changes the angle. His initial shot is stopped. But Morgan Frost, Johnny on the spot. The Flames are up 3-1. Again, great work winning the face-off by Strome. And the Flames just did a great job. Like, I love seeing Zane Parekh out there on the power play, and we'll talk a little bit about how he might have his load management challenged a little bit here over the next couple of weeks. But, we'll see how the Flames go. Because, hey, long season, 20 more games to go. 4-1, the 4-1 goal to put the Flames into a period where I was like, you know what? This Calgary Flames team, we scored 4. We can win, as everyone knows. We don't lose when we score 4 goals. Blake Coleman doing yeoman's work. But I have to say, Morgan Frost sets this goal up with one of the sneakiest plays I don't think they commented on the broadcast. He backhand flips it in from near his own bench to the far corner. And he takes a stride as if he's going to go to the bench and then gets hard in on the forecheck. This leads to the turnover from Bussy, and like Blake Coleman makes no mistake after the shot block. And like, I'm kind of sad that Morgan Frost didn't get an assist on this goal, because I think that he actually is the one that sets that up, as much as Joel Farabee did, keeping the puck in at the line, putting it on goal, having it be in an area that Blake Coleman could have gone and gotten to. Again, poor rebound control from Bussy, though, and like, but you got to take advantage when a team makes a mistake in the NHL. But this night wasn't over. Sean Walker, who had a great game against the Oilers, gets on the board here. Taylor Hall really, really is the Flames' kryptonite and has been for a long time. He gets an assist. Sebastian Aho as well. Good hard work getting onto a makeshift pairing. As good as Joel Farabee was in that one, can't just give up the puck after taking a slash to the thigh. I agree, should have been a penalty. You could tell he was barking that all the way back to the bench. But you know, 4-3 or 4-2 to the Flames. And then again, a bit of a phantom call there on Braden Bahal. And hey, Braden Bahal, not his best night tonight. Puts the Canes back on the power play. And that was a howitzer from Nikishin. Like, that was almost Mark Stone-like from the line. And they're saying it didn't go off of Coleman. I think it did, but it was going so fast, I don't think anyone would blame them for not seeing that. Assist to Aho and Jarvis. Flames only up 4-3. But then what a beautiful pass from the former Flyers duo. Great stick from Morgan Frost, and puts it right on the tape of Joel Farabee. And, excuse me, Joel, I was not familiar with your game. Able to go forehand, backhand, forehand, and then back to the backhand, lifts it over the pads. One of the nicest goals the Calgary Flames have scored this year. 5-3. Of course, the Canes didn't go quietly into the night. A bouncing puck, eventually knocked in by Andrei Svechnikov. Assist to Miller and Jarvis. But did not leave themselves enough time. Their enemy was the clock. And the Flames managed to win their 51st in a row when scoring 4 or more. 5-4, your final score. So let's talk about players that were great. Talk about players that were good. Talk about players that were playing a game to forget. And we'll start at the bottom. I thought Matt Coronado was kind of invisible in this one. Braden Bahal, as I said, had a night to forget. A pair of penalties and was in the box for both the power play goals. Or the one power play goal at the very least that was scored. And started the third period in the penalty box. So yeah, Braden Bahal, night to forget. Obviously, he was a late add. Joel Hanley out due to illness today. So who knows how long he'll be out. Guys that were good. Despite the fact that a goal and assist, I would only say that Ryan Strome was good, not great. And I'd put Oli Mata in that category too. Of course, he's playing a lot more minutes than he probably expected to. As we all know, he was not playing that many minutes when he was over in Utah. Then comes to Calgary, and what was his final time on ice? Yeah, you go from not playing to playing almost 24 minutes. Welcome to the Calgary Flames, Oli Mata. And I think that will continue on for a little while, especially if the Zach Whitecloud injury is serious. Whitecloud only playing 6 minutes in today's game. Reports are that it's an upper body injury. Guys that were really good. The Florida duo. Or not Florida. Philly duo of Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee. I thought Frost was the two-way center that we were promised with the acquisition of Frost out of the Flyers. And as I said, Joel Farabee, like, big props. Other than the one mistake giving the puck away when he got slashed, I thought it was one of his best games in, I was going to call it the Flaming Sea, but I guess he was wearing Blasty today, so as a member of the Flames, we'll go with. And hey, that may be the last game we see in Blasty for a while. Multiple sources are reporting that the Flames are not going to return to Blasty next year. So, we'll have to see. Because I've heard rumors that the Black Sea will be returning next year. But of course, I'm not someone who has the ears of manufacturers the way that some other insiders do. So, send Blasty out on a win before you send him to the glue factory. But let's get into period number 2. Period number 2. Yeah, we got that on the screen. But as we do that, I am going to tell you a little bit. If you head over to the Game Over Network and head on over there, we had one of our young fans join in and write their first blog post. Where did it get put? We did have our first article. Let's see, did it go in the Montreal tab? I'm navigating to try and find this for you. As we had our first article written by our friend Jordan. And I'll hopefully it can let's see, it isn't on our Instagram. Oh, I'll find it and I'll post the link in the chat. Because Jordan put out a great article a few days ago about why Nazem Kadri shouldn't have gone to the Flames. And I wanted everyone to go see what the newest member of the Game Over team was doing on the writing side. Of course, you saw him if you watched any of the Game Over Olympics content. So hey, give it a chance, give it a shot, and go give it a read. But let's head into this period number 2. As everyone said, what a game from Farabee and Frost. It's kind of mind-numbing how long the Flames seem to try and keep this duo apart. Of course, as they said, we didn't really play together in Philadelphia. But it really seemed like they were complementary players every time they were on the ice together. And yet it seemed that Ryan Huska and crew, with the roster that the Flames had up until the trade deadline, really seemed dead set to not have them together. But they put them together today and they ball out, for lack of a better, more professional term. And hey, I think also having Blake Coleman, who is probably, now that when you look at the roster, the Calgary Flames' most reliable goal scorer, or at least the one with the longest track record of being such. I think that's a brilliant move by Calgary Flames coaching staff. However, as I said, it kind of comes at the cost of Connor Zary, Matt Coronado, Igor Sharangovich, whoever you want to throw on those other lines. Because, as I said, I did not like Sharangovich playing with Backlund and Coronado. I think you're going to have to go back into the blender to try and figure out what works for the other 3 lines of this squad. Because at Little Uzi, Bert said, I'm looking to see Olofsson play next game. I agree. I think he probably takes the spot Ryan Lomberg filled today. Or if the Calgary Flames want to maybe sit Igor Sharangovich, I'd also be okay with that. See what you got in your new acquisition. As well, I think this may lead to a little bit of an extended stay with the Wranglers for Matt Vagrid. That's the only thing I don't like about these lines. Because I think Matt Vay has proven that he is deserving of time in the NHL. He had to go down. He had to play his 1 game because of the whole waiver transaction, new rules sort of thing. But it's an interesting one there on how you balance out the first and 2 out of the 4 lines at the very least. KQ chipping in saying the second and fourth line are good. Hey, you know what? I'm going to say the Frost, Farabee, and Coleman line is probably our number 1 line right now. Do we have probably 3 second lines in a lot of people's argumentative minds? Probably. I don't think the Flames really have a first line now as the way they're construction. But hey, yeah, that Farabee, Frost, Coleman line, very good. I don't think I'm ruffling anyone's feathers saying that after this performance. And I don't know, they kept going to Craig Conroy and Nonis and who else was up there? What's his name? The one who had the really bad comments. Oh, I can't remember. Don Maloney. I was going to call him Don Baloney for whatever reason. But I think Craig Conroy was happy, and I think he was looking over at the other 2 saying, aren't you glad I didn't trade these guys? Because I'm sure there were offers. I'm sure that there was a lot of time mulling that over if they should be shopped. But I think there's a lot of hope that those 2 will prove to be the building blocks for these next few years with whoever, Stenberg, McKenna, Malhotra, whoever the Flames get to select in the entry draft this next year. But that brings us to the one issue of today's game, and that is the injury to Whitecloud and what that means for our defense pairings. An upper body injury, and the fact that he didn't return makes me think it's going to be a medium-term injury at the very least. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to diagnose further than that. But it does kind of throw our defense pairings into whack. Because that is the one good thing about having a guy like Olli Maatta. He is a guy that, like the guy that he quote-unquote replaced in Mackenzie Weegar, is someone who has experience playing on both sides of the blue line. So this does give the Flames a little bit of leniency if they are going to throw Whitecloud on the IR. But then it brings us into the question of who gets the call-up. Because if you are going to have to play Olli Maatta on the right-hand side, that would lead you to believe you have to call up a left-hand side defenseman, which is not Hunter Brustevich. I know Uzi Bert made that. I thought Brustevich would be with the Flame to help with Prex load management. No, that's why you have Braden Bahal, who was awful today. So what does this mean? I think this could potentially be when the Flames fans get a taste of Etienne Morin. Of course, Morin is only 20 years old. And I don't think he's quite ready. Etienne Morin, obviously, was kind of the guy behind, ooh boy, where's my brain today? Was the guy behind Yan Kuznetsov for the Wranglers. And was somebody that was constantly getting questions about him when Julian McKenzie was in Calgary with the Athletic. A guy that's has bounced around this year. Only played 27 games with the Wranglers, and has played in Rapid City this year. Like, has been a guy that's had an up and down year. But he's kind of the only guy who is waiver exempt on that left-hand side of the Calgary Wranglers lineup. If we want to look at other guys that are defenders, Brustevich plays on the right. Nick Cicek, I don't think you necessarily really want to give the call up to. I think he is on a one-way contract as well. Maybe the guy that, because I think Artem Grushnikov as well might be on a one-way deal. Just trying to look that up. I've only got elite prospects up. No, wait. He's not with the Wranglers. Is he with the Wranglers? List him as he's with the Wranglers, but in my everything with it. Yes, has played 48 games, 1 assist with the Wranglers. Definitely not an offensive left-handed defenseman, but hey, if he's going to play 12 minutes a night, maybe that's exactly what you want. And then you have Turner Ottenbright, and he is kind of an AHL lifer, and is 28. Obviously, in his second year back in in North America, after playing with Kunlun Red Star in the KHL. They actually finally played their first game in China a few weeks ago. Just fun fact. So yeah, there's not a lot of guys on that left-hand side. And the reason I say you might see Mata move to the right-hand side, because as much as I like Zane Parekh, I don't want my right-hand side to be Zane Parekh on your first pairing, Hunter Brustevich on your second pairing, and then Braden Pahal on your third pairing. That is not a great right-hand side of your defense core. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people arguing with me about the quality of that right-hand side. So I think that moving Mata to the right, because he can do it, and bringing up one of those guys who plays on the left may be the best move if this White Cloud injury is that 1 to 2 week variety. I'm just hoping he didn't separate his shoulder, because that was, as the impact remind me is some of the plays that we've seen where that ends up being the injury. But let's head on in. Well, that was our period number 3 conversation, but my button didn't go off. Of course. So let's talk overtime. Had a couple questions in chat, but before I get to your guys' questions, I've got one for you. And it's on the silly side, so be prepared. If there was a Mr. Universe for NHL players and coaches only, who wins, or who gets the higher placing between Rod the Bod and Ryan Lomberg? Obviously, we've seen we've heard lots of stories about the legendary Rod the Bod, about how he is continuing to potentially still have the body to play NHL games. But we've also seen Ryan Lomberg and his affinity for taking interviews without his shirt on, because who would want to show off that body? So, Flames fans in chat, just throw out your votes if you're Team Lomberg or if you're Team Rod the Bod. Did the Flames win 5-4 in this rebuilding economy? The question from our friend Anand, who is out at the banquet with the High River Flyers, the Junior B team that he was working with. Tough year for High River. But yeah, I don't want to call it addition by subtraction, because I think that is not fair to the quality of people and players that Nazem Kadri and Mackenzie Weegar were, especially Weegar. Like, Weegar was a heart and soul guy. Like, there's a reason they had all the video of him around the building of the new arena. And obviously in his going away post, he kind of gave a enjoy the building that I built winky face at the end of it. But I think, especially on the offensive side, it's allowing some of these guys like Farabee and Frost to play minutes that they wouldn't have necessarily been allowed to if Nazem Kadri was still in town, or if Jonathan Huberdeau was still healthy. Like, I think it's just playing players in positions that allow them to build on their skills a little bit more as goal scorers. And hey, maybe we'll see that they should have been in those positions all along. Or hey, maybe this is just a really tired Carolina team who gave everything to beat the Edmonton Oilers the last night. But we will have to kind of wait and see on that one. You may have discussed this already, but what's your thoughts on the next captain with Weegar now gone? I'm assuming, Cap Camp, that you are talking about after the retirement of Michael Backlund after the end of his contract. I have to assume that's what you're talking about. I don't necessarily think we have that person on this team yet. As much as I want to say it'll be Blake Coleman, I don't think Blake Coleman's re-signing with the Calgary Flames. That's actually a question I hadn't even considered, really. Oh boy. Do we pull a Vancouver Canucks and just say, oh, our captain is Dustin Wolf? I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. Brian Lomberg, I love him. I think he should be extended. I don't think we see him extended longer than 2 years, which is no longer than Michael Backlund has. I think that might be one of the vacuums that the Calgary Flames have right now. Is I don't think there really is a true leader necessarily. I'm kind of the opinion that the Calgary Flames organization really, really likes Zach Whitecloud at this point. So I could see if he gets an extension, maybe him getting the C. But I think we're going to go through one of those periods that once Backlund retires, I don't think you see anyone wear the C. I think I'll have a lot of guys wearing the A. But I don't know. That's kind of the one vacuum that we're going to have once Michael Backlund retires. The only other name that I think, maybe just because he might be the longest tenured Flame when that happens, is Kevin Ball. And I've also think we've seen the most progression out of anyone on this team out of Kevin Ball. Okay, I know you're going to say give it to Gavin McKenna because we're going to draft Gavin McKenna. Because the Flames aren't going to out-tank the Rangers at this point. Best we're going to pick is third. By the way, this is just sparkling water. Go to TNT, pick up Chi sparkling water. It's one of the best things. Not a sponsor. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Because I also just took a look through if there's anyone that's going to make their way out of the Wrangler system that has any leadership with them. Maybe it's Rory Cairns if he comes through the system and doesn't leave at the end of this year. But yeah, as little Uzi Burt said, it'll be like when Gio left. I actually think that Backlund was the leader of that room anyways when Gio left. So I don't actually think there's going to be more of a vacuum than when Gio left. But that goes to, I think, Tokei's question, which is a little bit in jest. But who knows? Who are the Flames going to select when they select 6th overall? That is actually probably the worst place the Flames can draft. Because I think if they draft 5th, they probably get Caleb Malhotra, despite the fact that he's been rising up through draft rankings. It gives you another flame or another center depth. Because Verhoff and Chase Reed have really kind of taken over that 3rd, 4th position. And hey, a lot of draft boards are actually having Gavin McKenna falling to 2nd. And as I said, I think a lot of that actually has to do with Vancouver's success in drafting players from overseas. And hey, Stenberg's been producing really, really hot in the SHL. And that's a league he's playing against men. So I do think Gavin McKenna still has a lot to give if you're the Flames and you're going to get him at number 2. But we'll have to see. But if they were to draft 6th, I know a lot of people really like Albert Smits, the left-handed defenseman, which does kind of play into what the Flames need, because they don't have a lot of guys in the system on that left side, as I said. Carson Carroll's out of Prince George as well, but the last guy we drafted out of Prince George kind of hasn't had the best luck after his draft year. Because, of course, I am talking about Sam Honzek, who I still think has a lot to play for and a lot to build from. But a name that I have kind of been pondering as the Flames, if they're going to trade up to get another center into the system, is Tynan Lawrence out of Boston University. Obviously, makes the late shift to the NCAA after a hot start to the USHL season. Hasn't had the greatest start with Boston University. But hey, drafting guys out of Boston has worked pretty good for us. Of course, Boston College generally has been the guy. But I know we didn't really talk a lot about the draft. I like to see what the Flames do with the lot of those seconds, because Anand brought up something really, really smart that I hadn't even thought of, is trading up with those later 2 seconds, and hey, maybe a prospect the Flames are done with, to get a little bit higher. Use that late if the Rucks are still available. Of course, Liam Ruck rated higher out of the 2 Ruck brothers, depending on what draft board you're looking at. The right winger out of Medicine Hat, who has really been a resurgence for the Medicine Hat Tiger after losing McKenna and Lindstrom. Maybe the Flames do trade up to select the Ruck twins with that, either with the Vegas pick, if it is the one we get this year. With the one we will get this year. And maybe bunch up those seconds and go pick his brother at 32nd or something. And Cat Camp, I want to answer your question, but I think we'll have lots of time to discuss free agency as this season moves along. We're 1 game off of the trade deadline. I don't necessarily think this is the time to look at free agents. I think we just follow along this ride. And I think a little bit later we can talk about who the Flames need to target based on how this Flames team shakes out. Are you okay with me taking that as your answer? Saying we will discuss stuff like that, and I will keep that locked in my mind and on our documents. But hey, he could be referring to the fact that Rasmus Andersson is going to, by all accounts, still be a free agent. Maybe they're just going to target a guy to bring him back. Because it's an interesting situation with the Calgary Flames in this free agency, because we are going to need to find a way to keep ourselves at the basement. But speaking of the basement, the Calgary Flames avoid a further stumble down into the doldrums of the NHL. They pick up the win today. And before we actually go, I'm just going to take a look. Cap saying Lombo all the way. Little Uzi Vert saying Lomberg hands down. So people are thinking Ryan Lomberg would win the NHL Mr. Universe. And just before we do go, there may be a change to the format of Game Over Calgary. I'm not going to go too much into this, but I've recently had a major event occur in my family. So I'm not necessarily sure how my mental health will allow me to continue doing these post-game shows. We are potentially discussing going to a weekly format. Just give you a rundown of the week in Flames. But if I can't go, it's not necessarily fair to Anand to take over all of the post-game shows. It's just not fair to Anand, and I wouldn't ask that of my friend. And I love everyone in this chat. I won't be answering any questions on what's going on, because the person who this does affect has asked me not to. So I'll just leave it at that. We do have a schedule out until the middle of this month. I'm going to do my best to see how my emotions can handle it. So we will keep you updated. We will keep you in the know of if our format is going to change and how that will affect our coverage here on Game Over Calgary. Thank you to everyone for tuning in today. Thank you for your continued support of the channel. Cat Camp, if you just subscribed and I dropped that bomb. But as far as I know, it will be Monday against the Caps, the next Flames game. Of course, the Flames head on the road for 5. It will be Anand bringing you that game on Monday. I will do my best to be here on Tuesday to bring you that Rangers game. And then it'll be Anand for the Devils and myself for the Islanders. As I said, as long as everything goes all right inside my brain. Thank you so much for your support of Game Over Calgary. Of course, as I've suggested in every one of these, even if you're not a Habs fan, go check out Game Over Montreal. They are our one Game Over channel that is monetized. So hey, if you go give them a few extra eyes, maybe some of that monetization trickles its way in the form of equalization payments to Calgary instead of going the other way. But we will see you for the rest of this road trip. Thank you so much, everyone.